Welcome to Hashmarks and Working Tools, where football meets the craft and hot takes come properly squared. Hosts Mike McDermott and Joel Cade torch NFL game film, then grab the Masonic working tools to talk strategy, character, and the craft itself.
Hello and welcome to the Hashmarks and Working Tools podcast. My name is Mike McDermott, and I am joined today with Joel Cade. How you doing,
Hi,
Joel?
everybody. I'm doing all right. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a Friday recording day. We have not had a Friday. This will be our first Friday recording day.
Friday the 13th, no less.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! How about that?
Let's go.
All right, so we have just gone through 3 days of very interesting free agency period, for the NFL.
Oh yeah, and our buddies in Baltimore are at it. So this would have to be
my goodness
discussion.
So I woke up on the first day of free agency. I stretched, I got myself a cup of coffee, and then I saw that the Steelers signed Michael Pittman Jr. So I had a great day.
There you go.
So, the fans said, hey, somebody needs to address this wide receiver issue. And guess what? We did. So
Nice.
Yeah, I think.
So how does he fit in the overall structure there? Like, how do you see him fitting in the offense? I mean, it's kind of hard to talk about that given that you don't really know what the offense is, given you have a new head coach, but you could do some scouting of previous offenses he ran.
Correct. Yeah, I'm looking at how he's going to fit in as a player. Just looking at the wide receivers we have today, he's going to be the wide receiver 2. And that's going to help our wide receiver 1 be more effective. And that's really kind of, I think, where he's going to fit. My hope is that he's more productive than he was for the Colts for the past couple of years. And it's my understanding that one of the reasons why Pitt wanted to leave the Colts is because of what was, just the, I don't know if it's it was a difficult locker room situation, I think, for him. And, kind of reading up about his background and stuff. Now, I mean, he's kind of a farm boy and stuff, and he's a quiet farm boy, and so when you're in a very active and crazy kind of, situation in the locker room over in Indianapolis.
Indiana is like the farm boy heaven. I mean, have you driven through Indiana? I mean,
there's a lot of corn. There is a lot of corn.
And there's a lot of orange barrels.
Yeah, there is the entire way. Actually,
I have a friend who swears that the orange barrels are the state flower.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can agree with that. So I think he's going to be more successful. I think in Pittsburgh. I think he's more of a Pittsburgh guy. He's from Pittsburgh. He was born in Pittsburgh. He went to University of Penn, and so, I mean, he's from this area. So hopefully the combination of his family being here and, his roots and stuff, that's going to help him be more productive. So
I'm going to jump way off topic to start with. All right.
Sure.
So I've noticed that Pittsburgh is bringing in a lot of Pittsburgh guys. Can you talk about that for a second and why that's important and what that's about?
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, our new head coach is from Pittsburgh. Right. So I think what you've seen in free agency, I think I counted three out of 5 of the free agency guys either were born in Pittsburgh or were from Pittsburgh.
Okay. So who are the 5 guys? Who are the 5 guys?
And the 2. So that let me get a list of the guys that we picked up. So we picked up Michael Pittman Jr., Pittsburgh, Jamel Dean. I believe he's from Pittsburgh as well. He's a cornerback.
Okay.
Jaquan Brisker. I think he played for what was it? Chicago Bears, right? So he played opposite of our coach, right? In Green Bay, right?
Okay.
And then Darnell Savage. He was draft class 2019, another safety, right? So now we've got, we just got rid of a couple old safeties. I think you guys did too. I think the Browns did. So now, we're picking up some old safeties, backup safeties. Rico Dowdle, right? He's got Pittsburgh ties. And so he's going to be like an RB2 for us, RB3, something like that. Okay. Slot runner. He can catch too, which is great, right? Because, that's an important piece now at running back, especially for Pittsburgh. depending on who our quarterback is, right?
It's the
So,
biggies.
yeah, I think Dowdle may or may not play based on who the quarterback is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Cam Johnston, we pulled him back for special teams. He was on our special teams before we got him back.
Okay.
So,
All right. So you said 3 of 5 are from Pittsburgh. Now, I know Browns fans, and I know Browns fans who are listening know that this is already a loaded question, but I want a Pittsburgh view of this. So, what is the draw for Pittsburgh people?
So it's basically when you watch a movie or a series on television, you see all these callbacks from prior episodes and prior series and stuff like that. And it's called fan service, right? It's what Hollywood does to go in and make sure that the fans are satisfied. That a fan, while watching the episode of that show or that movie, they're going to go like, "Oh yeah, I know what you did there." And that's exactly, I think, what Pittsburgh does, right? When they bring in folks that are from Pittsburgh, that are, have roots here, that have family here. I think that they really in their DNA, right? And Omar Khan, it's going through his head when he's bringing on players is like, this guy's from Pittsburgh. He's going to bring his family. He's going to play at 100%, right? There's reasons for him to be here. And that's why we want him here, right? And so I think a lot of that has to go into some of that decision making, right? Instead of saying, "Hey, I'm going to bring some guy that was from California to Pittsburgh and ask him to play football," right?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to come here and they're going to hate it. They're going to hate it. They're going to have no family here. They're not going to. They're going to be like, the sky is gray half the time, right?
Right.
And it's raining or cold or, it's not Southern California.
We play outside, not in a dome.
No, it's not in a dome, right? It's turf grass, right? Not AstroTurf. So I think that's the reason why. I think like we look, geographically, at the players that are out there and say, hey, these guys, when we bring them on and they sign on the dotted line, they know exactly what they're getting. We're not surprising them, right?
Right.
We just came off of a situation where our stadium, our coaching staff, everything, was given an F or whatever, from the FLPA, rankings and stuff like that.
We can talk about that too. I have done many a podcast on player rankings, and that's a whole topic, man.
Yeah.
Well, I want to jump back onto this hiring the local people.
Sure.
Okay. So Browns fans are very, very invested. Anybody who's listening to Browns fans knows that this is loaded because Browns fans are very invested in local people. Mm-hmm. Like whenever somebody comes to the draft that's a local guy, all the local fans, like, we have to draft this guy. Like there's 2 or 3 of these people in the draft discussion right now that are from Cleveland. You want to get the Cleveland people. We need to draft the Cleveland people. In fact, one of those guys back in the day was Mitch Trubisky, Cleveland guy, right? Everybody wanted to draft Mitch Trubisky over Myles Garrett, no less. Okay. So, that's how crazed like Browns fans get about these local people. We've had Brady Quinn at quarterback. Hey, Brady, no, it wasn't Deshaun Kaiser. There's someone else we brought in that was just a local guy. And we brought him in because he was a local guy, right? And doesn't play well at quarterback. And, some Browns fans, and probably me being one of them, it gets very skeptical when the team starts bringing in Browns local players, like local guys, because it signals to me that, okay, we need to find some reason to bring people to the stadium other than the actual team on the field. So we need to we got this guy out here. He's a local guy. So people are going to come and support the local guy because we know our product is garbage. So we got to bring in the sideshow. Sideshow Bob is coming in to be a part of the team because he's from Cleveland, and we're going to bring him onto the team. So whenever I see the Browns doing this kind of stuff, and everybody's like, yeah, they're like, okay, the Browns are going to be garbage this year, so they're bringing in people, other reasons for people to come to the game.
That's interesting.
Do you think this applies to the Steelers right now?
I don't. No, I think it's the opposite.
Even though you don't have a quarterback.
No, I think
there's no plan for quarterback.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think it plays. I think the stacking of the team with local talent, right. Well, they didn't always play there, right? They didn't always play in Pittsburgh, right? So these guys, are coming back to Pittsburgh, including our coach, right? And the Steelers and the Browns are different in lots of different fashions, right? I mean, as far as play style, as far as like just you can't get a seat in Pittsburgh, right? It's like we sell out every game. It's
So
not.
you also, I want to counterpoint this. You also have a fan base that Mike Tomlin cited as one of his reasons for leaving.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a fan base that expects a certain level.
Correct.
Okay. Now, let's say you're a GM and you think, okay, this year's going to be a transition year. We don't have a plan at quarterback. We've got a new head coach. We may not hit 500 this year.
Right.
Okay. And you got a fan base that is at least used to hitting 500. And you have a fan base that I would say is a little, okay, I'm just getting to the point. I think Steelers fans are spoiled. They have an expectation that certain things are going to happen certain ways. And the front office may think that it's not going to happen that way because there's no plan at quarterback, get a new head coach, get a new defensive coordinator, get a new offensive coordinator. It's going to take at least 5-6 games because we as Browns fans have been through the coaching change. It's going to take at least 5-6 games for the players to understand the system offensively and defensively, which means they're going to struggle. It's going to take at least 5 or 6 games for the coaches to understand who the players are because they're new and they haven't been coaching them a long time. So that means if you can come out 3-3 out of your first 6 games, you're in a good spot. Mm-hmm. Now, chances are 3-3 with an established quarterback is doable. Without an established quarterback, might not be doable. Mm-hmm. So I submit to you.
Are you asking me if we're going to be 500 this year? Is that what?
Well, I mean, I think you guys will make 500. Okay. All right. But I think it'll be on the back of like a Mike Tomlin situation where it's like we're running in the last 5 games of the season. We got to win 4 of them to be 500.
All right.
And then you hit your final stride because early, I think there's going to be struggle because of what I've just talked about.
Sure.
So the question is, if we're going to struggle early and you got a fan base that's not used to struggling, right? This isn't the Cleveland Browns right now. Like we understand our team's going to go 0-2 to start the season, and then we'll be out of the playoffs because statistically, once you hit 0-2, there's like next to no chance of making the playoffs, right? So we know that's coming. So we understand like this is going to happen, but I don't think Steelers fans get that. But you might start 0-2, particularly how the schedule comes out. If you draw, say, the Bengals week 1, you might get past that because the Bengals are terrible in week 1, right? If you draw, say, you were first place in the division, right? So let's say you draw who won the division in the West. That was Denver. Let's say you draw Denver week 1.
Yeah.
And then maybe you draw the winner, like New England week 2, right? Because you're going to have both of those guys, right? Let's say you draw those 1 and 2. You might be 0-2 because you've just played 2 established teams. You've got a first place schedule. Okay, which means you got one of the hardest schedules that in the AFC you can come up with, except for the fact that you're playing the Browns twice, and depends on what the Bengals look like.
Bengals twice.
Depends on what the Bengals look like, and the Ravens twice, so that's going to make your schedule that much harder, right? So you're going to run through the gauntlet this year, and you got a lot of transition. So I would put in the back of my mind, like, we may struggle out of the gate. And what's going to keep fans coming to the stadium if you're struggling out of the gate, particularly as a fan base that's not used to struggling? It's going to be because we got these local guys. We can come and root for our local guys. Anyway, that's a big, long side topic.
No, yeah.
From a Browns fan that's dealt with this for years, when the team starts signing people like that, the red flags go up for me.
Well, so let me address Pittsburgh fans. Okay.
This is why I asked about the culture and what that means in Pittsburgh.
So in Pittsburgh, when we lose a game, when we lose a game in Pittsburgh, everybody on the east side of the stadium has to walk past all 5 of the Lombardis to leave the stadium.
Okay.
They do.
So I think the Browns should do this, right?
The
Browns should
do.
get their 8 championship trophies and put them on display somewhere. Like, that would make Browns fans feel better about themselves.
Yeah,
like,
well,
here's our 8 championships that we can leave past.
You want to know why we're spicy when we lose, right? It's because we walk past all those Lombardis on that, after the game, right? So what my thoughts here, Joel, is to go in and take those 5 Lombardis and put them in the locker room, right? In the home locker room.
Okay.
So that when Cam Hayward and Aaron Rodgers walk out from losing a game in Pittsburgh, that they walk past all of those Lombardis. I think that's where those Lombardis
maybe
belong,
that's where the Browns are hiding their 8 championship trophies, is like somewhere where the players can see them and think, wow, isn't that quaint?
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, that's the reason why we're spicy, right? It's because,
You're used to winning. Like this is like the Ohio State fan base, right?
This is proof that this team has won and can win the big challenge, right?
Right. So this is the difference between a Browns fan and a Steelers fan. Like the Steelers fan has the expectation that they're going to go out there and win.
Yes.
We as Browns fans are like, yeah, we're gonna be garbage this year, but if we win a game, then we're pretty pumped. Like we won a game. Check that out.
Right. Right.
Unless against the Bengals, we beat them all the time. But like. Well, I joke about this, but like literally, we have a winning record against the Bengals. We have a winning record. I think we have a winning record against 2 of the 3 division rivals over the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't think of I think we have a losing record against the Ravens, and we're either very close or tied with the Steelers. And so those teams, by the way, those are like actual games now between the Bengals and the Steelers and the Ravens. And the Ravens might have a winning record against us, but it's only like 1 or 2 games. It's not out of control like it has been for a long time. The Browns have caught up with the division. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh,
no, I was just saying, like, the Steelers have this winning tradition, right?
Yeah.
And the Browns are just like, okay, we're great. We won a game. But when you have a situation like there's a lot of turnover, I'm not sure Steelers fans are used to what is about to hit them this season, and you're walking in blind. Because, like, you haven't dealt with it in 20 years. How long's Tomlin been there?
What was it?
20 years?
Yeah, years.
So you haven't seen a coach turnover in 20 years.
Yeah.
Right. So literally, like, you were probably in your 30s the last time this happened.
I've only seen 2 coaches in my life.
Okay, so I've seen probably about 100, and I'm gonna give you some advice. You're gonna suck for 6 weeks, particularly with a first place schedule, and they're going to look like they're poorly coached, and they're going to look like they have no idea what's going on, and you're going to have communication issues. And it's because each team, each side of the ball has to learn what they're doing. It's not like they have had the same system for the last 20 years and everyone's been playing it together for 20 years. It's going to be a whole new system, a whole new way of doing things. And, if you've been reading English your whole life and now all of a sudden you have to read Latin, or you have to read Spanish, or you have to read something else, you can get the basics, but the nuance is going to get you. And that's where you guys are going to struggle the first 6 weeks is the nuance. It's when this guy isn't open, hit this guy. Your quarterback may throw it to the first guy thinking, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do in the play. But it's the subtleties like, well, if this person's lined up here, you want to go off to this guy. But you're going to learn that by making the mistake by throwing it to the first guy who has the defender lined up over him perfectly. So that kind of stuff you're going to struggle with that, particularly when you're playing a first place schedule.
Yeah. So I'm listening to what you're throwing down there, Joel, and I'm kind of in my head. It's just my wheels are turning here because the Steelers aren't going to take that really well.
Yeah,
they're not.
And this is why I think, like, when I see people signing free agents and the answer is this guy's a Pittsburgh guy, well, at least you got another reason to go to the stadium, right? Like, you're going to root for our local guys because we know we're going to struggle, right? So just another thought on that. But anyway, let's move on. We've
Well, no, I mean, that's what you're going to get. I mean, we've got a new head coach, and he's pulling on guys that played for him back in the day, back in Green Bay and stuff. No, I mean that's what he's doing. He's picking guys he's familiar with, that he knows are going to be clicking, right? And there's not exactly knows the system. So
and those are going to be the guys that the Steelers are going to lean on to teach the system to the people who don't know the system. Not that they're bad players, but like they're going to screw up because they don't know. They're not going to be in the same offense they've been in for the last 5 years. They're going to be in a new situation, and they're going to like, well, in the last offense we did this, and then they're going to go out there and run this route, and they're going to run it the way they did in the last system. And the quarterback is going to be trying to use the new system, and then you're going to get this pass that's going to go right to a defender.
Right.
Like, why is this quarterback so stupid? They're throwing it right to the defender. Well, the wide receiver was supposed to be there, but because in his mind, he's reacting on the fly, and in his mind, he's done the same thing for 5 years, which is when I see this, I do this. Now you have to consciously think about it, which means you're going to play slower, and you're going to end up making mistakes.
Well, now I think we need to transition to
let's go to the Browns.
The square, right? And
I'm sorry.
Speculative Freemasons use the square to go in and square their actions. And It's something that I think the Baltimore Ravens really needed to do. And if they don't do it individually, I believe the rest of the league needs to go and make sure that that happens.
So the Ravens have a long history of doing this. I'm looking this up real quick. I know in
Yeah.
2018 they signed this guy Grant. I can't think of his first name. They signed him in free agency, right? And then 2 days later, Michael Crabtree gets released by the then Oakland Raiders.
Right.
So then they go in and they fail Grant on the physical and sign Michael Crabtree for less than they were going to sign this guy Grant. This isn't the first time they've done this. And last year they traded Jair Alexander to the Eagles, and then he promptly retired.
Right.
Now, they punished the player for this. Now, Alexander had to pay back almost $1 million, $889,000 back to the Eagles. Like, he had to pay it back to the Eagles. They didn't punish the Ravens.
Yeah.
And the Eagles got that cap space back as a part of their cap moving forward. But the Ravens have a history of doing this. And I saw a tweet yesterday, and I thought this was brilliant. It was, what do you expect from an organization who was born out of a midnight escape from Cleveland?
Yeah.
And the way they did Cleveland, the way they did Baltimore, the way Art Modell handled that entire situation, that established the ethos of this team.
Sure.
This is how they've done this on the field. Try to change, like, the whole tight end rule where you have to announce all that controversy. That's a Ravens rule, because they would come out and they would line people up in wonky formations and then shift real quick to changing who was eligible and who wasn't eligible.
Right.
And then snap the ball. And the Patriots and Belichick got upset. By the way, Belichick, like, is another master of doing stuff like this. Got upset and said, you're going to change the rules. So they do this on the field. They do this off the field. The whole ethos of the organization is just like, how can we bend, break, borrow, change any rule we possibly can for our advantage and screw people over. And poor Max Crosby. Anyway, you should probably tell what happened with Max Crosby. So
yeah, well, yeah. No, I mean, you're talking about 2018. That was a 4-year, $29 million deal with Ryan Grant, right?
Ryan Grant, there it is.
Yep. And then just more recently, right, in 2020, the Ravens had a deal in place with defensive lineman Michael Brockers. But then Michael Brockers went to an independent doctor about an injury with his ankle. And that doctor, told him, hey, your ankle's screwed. Baltimore walked away from a signed deal, right? Citing the physical that was done previously. So the Baltimore Ravens did a physical on Brockers. Past that physical, Brockers went to a doctor, an independent doctor off the street, right? The doctor said, your ankle's screwed, and then boom, got rid of him, right? The physical that he actually passed, right? And that was in 2020.
Yeah. So the deal we're talking about right now is this shady stuff went on. So the Ravens had a deal in place with the now Las Vegas Raiders to trade for Max Crosby for 2 first-round picks. And this was going down. This was negotiated before free agency.
Yeah.
Free agency hits, and the Bengals defensive end, Trey Hendrickson, who himself has a history of injuries, is a little bit older, but he's very productive. Led the league in sacks, not last year, but the year before. Last year, he only played 4 games, was injured. Very productive defensive end, right? The Bengals had a chance to sign him a year ago. They looked at him and said, just be happy with what you have. So he decided to go hit the market. Yeah. So when he hits the market, he was projected to sign at a certain level, but that dropped because of his injury history. The Ravens said, look, we could get Trey Hendrickson cheaper and without giving up draft picks than we are for Max Crosby. So Max Crosby is in the building in Baltimore. They have Trey Hendrickson in the building at the same time.
Yeah.
And Max Crosby is reported as saying, I knew something was going on. The vibe was weird. People weren't treating me like they were like they were happy for me to be there. Yeah. It was just a weird experience. Then they signed Trey Hendrickson. Then they back out of the Max Crosby deal, but citing a failed physical. And the thing with the physical is he was seen by 5 different doctors, including the Cowboys doctor, and everyone knew what his situation was long before this trade was executed. So it's not like the Ravens pulled off a trade, and then they got him and said, "Oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh, look at this thing we've discovered, new that nobody's know. We're
Yeah.
going to back out of this." They knew exactly what they were getting.
Mm-hmm.
They basically got Trey Hendrickson cheaper than they got Max Crosby, and said, "Why are we giving up these 2 picks? We'll just fail his physical and get out of this thing." So that's what's going on.
Yeah. Well, like you said, yeah, the Cowboys had an opportunity to get the guy. They had him in for their own physical, and they didn't pass on him. He was still in the running, right? I think for that team.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Cowboys still wanted him, even though Baltimore, they knew that he was negotiating with Baltimore. And how does that even get pulled off, Joel? No, I mean, do the guys in Baltimore have like those FBI like ear mics and stuff where they're just like talking and like, yeah, I think we're real close on Trey. I think we're close on Trey. He's talking about it. All right, we just added another $1 million. Yep. There we go. Tell Max he can go leave. We don't need him. Like, how does that even operate as an organization? How does that operate?
So what, within Baltimore?
Yes.
I mean, how is Baltimore understanding? I'm confused on the.
No, question. I mean, yeah. So tell me that wasn't planned. Is the question.
That what they traded for Max Crosby and then turned around and got Trey Hendrickson?
Yes. Tell me that whole thing wasn't a sham.
Oh, the whole thing was a sham. I think they initially really wanted Max Crosby, right? Because they figured when free agency started, they weren't going to be able to afford Trey Hendrickson. Now, the question is, and I think this is the one that's not being asked, why would the Ravens think they can't afford Trey Hendrickson, and what number do they have on him that makes them think that the number they can get him for is under the value that they have assigned to him?
Right.
That's the real question. How do teams all of a sudden all have the same valuation of players? Because that sounds like collusion, right?
Yeah.
So the way this happens is, and there was a big investigation into this maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, where the NFL Players Association filed a collusion claim against the NFL owners because during the NFL owners meeting, which happened about 2 weeks before free agency happens,
yeah,
the owners have a meeting where somebody comes in and outlines every free agent and what their value is, and they recommend, that's the key word, is recommend that this person should sign a contract of this value. So walking into free agency, every NFL team has the same valuation on every single player.
Yeah.
Because somebody has come in, talked to all the owners and all the GMs and said, this is what we expect all these players to sign at, which by definition is collusion, which is why the NFL players filed a lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They in turn had to go to an arbitrator because that's how the agreement, I can't think of the name, the negotiated labor agreement that they have with the NFL.
NFLPA.
Yep. That the Players Association would bring their grievance to the owners, and they would go to an arbitrator who was assigned by the owners to arbitrate these problems. And the arbitrator said, because they're not telling the GMs what to sign people for, it's not collusion. Right.
Sure.
So shocker, the arbitrator sided with the owners because the owners assigned the arbitrator. So 2 weeks before free agency occurs, every owner gets a rundown of how much every person should be signing for or what the target is of what these people, their value should be in the open market. So the Ravens already have a value. This is what Trey Hendrickson is worth. And every other team has a value of this is what Trey Hendrickson is worth.
Right.
Now, they've been recommended not to go over a certain level in paying that person. This always happens. They get into a bidding war, blah, blah, blah. So apparently Hendrickson's injury history started taking teams to try to sign him lower than what they think he should actually sign for.
Sure.
So when that started happening, which, by the way, if they're sharing if they're sharing this information 2 weeks beforehand, they're sharing it 2 weeks afterhand. Or the agent is coming back saying, I got an X offer from this team. It's not that hard for one team to call the other team, which again is collusion. It's illegal. They're not supposed to do it, but let's be real. This is the NFL. They do whatever they want regardless. So that's how the Ravens would have a valuation on Hendrickson lower than what the projected value would be. So the projected value for Max Crosby may be up here, and maybe they're paying that, right? They're paying what the projected,
two
value
first
for Crosby is. And
2 first round
contract.
picks.
And the contract,
contract
they're giving to it. So then they're looking at Trey Hendrickson like, well, we can get relatively same productive value out of Hendrickson for far less without this many draft picks. So absolutely, this is planned. It's done out. Everybody knows what the Ravens are doing. It's not like people have no idea what's happening. This is what's, I think, frustrating other GMs around the league, is that everybody knows what the Ravens are doing. And they're manipulating the system to their own advantage, which is what they do, which is why other GMs are upset about it and are just making GMs are coming out and saying rude comments about the Ravens. You know, I've heard sports reporters say comments about the Ravens. Of course, then the NFL comes out and they want to back up the Ravens because they don't want any negative publicity and blah, blah, blah. But they absolutely know exactly what they're doing, when they're doing it, why they're doing it, how they're doing it. And so does everybody else in the NFL.
Yeah. No, I mean, the NFL came out with a real, hey, it's legal what they did kind of thing. But what they're missing is the aspect of historical history, right? Right. The history behind them continuing to do this. Joel, I really have enjoyed talking, on a Masonic frame here, right? On the level, free agency is a really, really cool thing. I always liked it. I always liked free agency because you had different levels of free agency. You've got a restricted free agent, and there's rules on how you deal with them. There's an unrestricted free agent, right? And it allows you to go in and, set those tiered levels for what you're allowed to do with those players at any time. I always thought that was fair. No, I mean, this is a fair reckoning going on, right? Now, and we know that I'm not going to say that I don't want my GM to go in and negotiate well. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying follow the rules and don't do that to the players. The players are the ones that get Max Crosby. What team's he going to play for now?
Well, he's still a Raider. I mean, like he wasn't a free agent. He was traded. So he's still a Raider. So I agree with you, right? So the question becomes the square, right?
Yeah.
We're going to do this on the square. We're going to do this like philosophically. That means rationally and intelligently, but practically that means we're doing things fairly, right?
Right. Free agency, the way they have it set, is a fair.
Yeah, right. We're all playing by the same rules. We're all doing the same thing. And then you got Joe Blow Jerk Organization, which we all know is the jerk organization.
It is.
I mean, this is the organization that made a murderer the face of the organization, and their owner came out and slammed the Browns for signing Deshaun Watson. The hypocrisy of the whole thing is ridiculous. But you got this organization that doesn't play by the rules, right?
Right.
They're out there trying, and this is their Bill Belichick. I have a verb for this, is Bill Belichicking the situation. But honestly, let's think about this honestly. The Browns aren't unculpable, like the new Browns aren't, but Cleveland's not unculpable because all these methods for doing this originated in Cleveland. Bill Belichick is coaching the Browns, creating all these ways of manipulating the system. Then Art Modell fires Belichick. By the way, after they moved, so the Ravens technically fired Belichick. Let's keep that on the record. They moved the team to Baltimore, right? Belichick has trained these staff how to act this way.
Sure.
In while they were in Cleveland, they move it to Baltimore. They continue acting that way. Belichick ends up in New England. He starts acting the same way. He's got videotapes. They're deflating footballs. They're doing all this crazy stuff, So I don't think Cleveland can say we're completely inculpable or we got hands that are clean. But the organization that is now in Baltimore, and I don't think this is my point on Twitter this week. I don't think this team fits what the Midwest is anymore. Like they are an East Coast team. They act like the East Coast. They look like the East Coast. They function like the East Coast. I think in the Midwest we're more on the square, right? We're more where our ethos in the Midwest is do right by yourself, do right by others, play a fair game. Be competitive, play hard, play tough, play physical, not necessarily we're out there to hurt people, injure people, and play dirty. That's where I think Midwesterners get a little upset when you're out there playing dirty. But just play a fair game.
Right.
But I don't think that's the way it operates.
No. Like,
not in New England, not in Baltimore. There are other teams that act this way. I don't think it operates. Then they tend to be on the East Coast. They operate completely differently. And I think it's about time. What we did was we reorganized the divisions, put the Colts in with the Steelers, Browns, and Bengals, and that's the Midwest, right? That's the AFC North. Put the Colts in there, move the Ravens over to the East, take the Dolphins and put them in the South, and
Yeah.
you've got the whole realigned, and they kind of all have the same ethos, right?
Right.
Because it's hard for me, it's probably hard for you as a Midwesterner, it's probably hard for a Bengals fan to
Sure.
watch this team come in that has nothing to do with anything like us. And we all just hate them because they're jerks. Like their fans attack people for no reason. Like, keep that crap on the East Coast.
Yeah, there's so many other teams that are more like the Browns and the Steelers out there, you know, and you know, the Philadelphia Eagles are in the same state as us, and there couldn't be a team that's more different than the way that we handle ourselves and operate.
Yeah, that's more like an East Coast mentality.
It is.
Eagles,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're more like Buffalo's more like us. No, I mean, for Pete's sake.
Yeah, I could see Buffalo being in the AFC North.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean the way that team operates, right, and from owners all the way down to the players and the fans. But yeah, Baltimore, you know, that they're going to be the hated team, and they know they need to stack themselves against the rest of the AFC North, because we do follow the square, right? We absolutely do in all of our actions. Now, we can't say that, you know, every individual player is, you know, up on a pedestal for all of our teams. That's not true.
Correct.
But, you know, as far as the way that we operate as a front office, right, the way that we operate as an organization couldn't be more different.
Right. I mean, even the Browns and all their cap manipulations, that's not illegal. That's all what's going on within the rules, right?
Right.
And the Browns are suffering cap. I'd like to talk about the Browns free agency if
please. Yeah, I was waiting for that. Yeah.
So, like, the Browns have two different things going on in free agency. One are the players they're losing. They're losing Jack Conklin, offensive tackle. They've cut him. David Njoku is leaving through free agency, and I got balloons going on my thing here. And Joel Bitonio has allowed his contract to void. So because they're all on void years, they had void years on their contracts.
Yeah.
If they sign in another place, the Browns will not be eligible for compensatory picks.
Correct.
So they're basically just gone. We're not getting compensatory picks because we had them on void years. Because of this, the Browns are also, because Bitonio's contract voided as opposed to him retiring, they're taking the entire cap hit this year. So they've got a lot, and I mean a lot, of dead money hit on that contract. There's also discussions that the Browns, when the league year started last week, but next week when you can start cutting post June 1st, might even cut Deshaun Watson. They may not, they might. If they cut him, that's another $80 million of dead money. So they'd be talking at least 120 plus dead money between those four players if they cut Deshaun Watson. If they don't, they're looking at about 40 million dead money.
Miami did it.
So I mean, they could deal with the situation by simply restructuring people and moving on. But this year for the Browns is going to be a lot of like, we're taking a cap hit. But in the meantime, they did trade for Titus Howard. They signed Zion Johnson, which I'm not a fan of Zion Johnson. Elton Jenkins was, I think, the best signing they've had so far.
Okay.
Center guard from the Green Bay. Zion Johnson, by the way, is a guard from the Chargers, who had the worst offensive line in the NFL. Titus Howard's a right tackle from the Texans, who had the second worst offensive line in the NFL. They've signed Tevin Jenkins, who they brought back. They'd actually benched Wyatt Teller for Tevin Jenkins, and Tevin Jenkins did okay. But they brought him back. They signed Jack Stoll as a tight end. I don't know why we're tightening more tight ends. And Quincy Williams, they brought him in from the Jets, linebacker, because we've allowed Devin Bush to walk off.
Yeah.
Which Devin Bush resurrected his career here in Cleveland. Like to have seen him stay. But because he fit, I think, what Jim Schwartz wanted to do, which were kind of the faster, smaller linebackers that kind of ran free, and I think he did a good job of that. I'm not sure Quincy Williams is going to do a good job of that.
No, tell me about the Zion Johnson, right?
So Zion Johnson had a terrible run grade and the second worst pass grade in the NFL.
Okay. And you signed him to a 3-year, $49.5 million deal with $32.4 million guaranteed.
Yeah, this is what we do.
What do they see in him? Like,
I have no idea.
Is it just because he was a first rounder?
I have no idea. I mean, maybe they think there's talent and we can coach him. And this is another rant I usually go on. I can't. When you come to offensive linemen, you can't draft guys because you think they have talent and then you can coach them up.
Yeah.
They have to come into that league.
You got to bring it
ready to play football, and drafting a guy and then, we're going to teach him these skills never works. I can't think of a single person that has ever worked with. So you need to go out and find people that can play football. This is my whole thing about the draft, by the way. Can they play football? You can tell me all about their 40s and this and that, but can they play football? Right. So I guess that's what's going on with Zion Johnson. Somebody in that organization thinks that they can coach him up and turn him into something.
Okay. Yeah. I saw the numbers on that, and I was just like, man, that's an expensive guard to bring in and then make him your development project.
And well, they're probably going away from that outside zone offense. So I get redoing the entire offensive line because you had an offensive line designed to run the outside zone offense. Now you're not going to be doing it. So you need an entirely new offensive line, which is what they're going to have between Howard's, Zion Johnson, Jenkins, Tevin Jenkins, the Jenkins and Jenkins connection here, and they're going to draft somebody, and that's going to be the offensive line.
So tell me about the Tua release and the cap hit that Miami took, and then
I don't know what the
Deshaun Watson.
I don't know what the exact number is on Tua Tagovailoa, okay? But I think it was $100 million plus.
Yeah.
Which is a third of the cap. Okay? Browns fans like to complain, and everybody in the NFL has this like little high horse they like to stand on, and like, we're better than you because you signed Deshaun Watson, right? And everybody's talking about how this Deshaun Watson contract is crippling and blah, blah, blah. What the Browns have done is basically kick it down to the road to where a $50 million cap hit in 2020 is a completely different cap hit than 2026, right?
Yeah.
So they have about $80 million of dead money, and everybody walks around, oh my gosh, if the Browns cut him today, they have to pay an $80 million cap hit. That's absolutely ridiculous. Well, the Dolphins are like, hold my beer. We're going to check this out. We're going to eat $100 million in cap money. We're going to take $100 million hit on our cap for a player that plays for the Atlanta Falcons, right? So I'm not going to listen to people talk about Deshaun Watson anymore. I'm done.
No. Well, and and with Tua, that the essential risk that you'd have there is that at a Miami game, Tua gets hit again and he gets another concussion or dies right there on the field. Like, no, as a head coach, I wouldn't ever want to see that for my organization, for my team. I would not want to have that, right? So I wouldn't even field the guy. And essentially that's what the Browns have done with Watson, right? It's like, we're just not going to field the guy.
Right.
We're not going to field him because, we can't afford to field the guy for different reasons.
If you get hurt, you can't cut him, right?
Right.
You can cut him with an injury designation, but then got all other kinds of issues going on once you start doing that.
Yeah.
He had an Achilles injury, so he wasn't playing last year anyway.
Right.
He might play this year. There are people who think he's going to start in Cleveland this year.
Yeah.
Literally, there are people who think he's going to start. So
I think the Browns are going to pick up a quarterback in the draft. I think that's the action that's going to happen.
I don't know. I would want to say no because it depends on how you're building your team. Like, Browns fans know all about team building. So the question is, how do you build a team? What you want to avoid, and I'm sorry, I'm going to say this, you want to avoid the 7-8 hell that the Steelers have been in, where you're 500, you might be playing for the playoffs, you get in the playoffs, and then all of a sudden you're picking in the mid-20s, right? You're not getting a quarterback in the mid-20s, but you're good enough to get to the playoffs, but you're not bad enough to get a quarterback that you need to put you over the top. So you're just in this middling range, and you're just stuck there like purgatory, right? And that's what the Steelers got to get yourselves out of. I don't know if the Browns, so team building can happen in a couple ways. You can get your quarterback, right? And then build everything else around it.
Right.
Or you can get everything else around it and then take your quarterback. So if you do the take everybody else around it, which the Browns seem to be doing, they did that last year with the defense. They're hopefully going to do that this year with the offense. All the talk has been left tackle and wide receiver. Drafted a running back last year. You picked up Shedeur Sanders in the 5th last year. You didn't expect to pick up Shedeur Sanders, right? So you pick him up. You were more than content to go with like Flacco or Pickett or somebody that's basically just somebody's garbage, and you're gonna like have a bad season, but you're going to get some good picks. You're going to pick up picks, is what they did last year, and you're just going to rebuild your team to the point where you're ready for a quarterback. Now, the only thing that might be interesting in the Browns situation is this 5th round pick in Shedeur Sanders. Can he be your quarterback? Right? That would be the only monkey wrench into that whole system is, did you find your quarterback in the 5th round last year? But this year they're looking to build on the offense, right? You've redone the offensive line. You're hopefully going to draft a receiver. You're hopefully going to draft a left tackle. What's left? What's left is the quarterback. So then going into 2027, when you've got Julian Sand, Arch Manning, I would say Nussmeier, but I think he's coming out this year. A couple other people coming out that are big names, right? You have to be in position to take one of those players. So I forget how this all started. Like, what's the Browns' plan? I don't think they're going to take a quarterback because I think they're going to try to build the team first. Then they'll take the quarterback. They've got Deshaun Watson's massive contract on the books. You have to get rid of that. And the cheapest way to get rid of that is not to cut him this year, but ride through him next year when you've cut that down from 83 to like 40, right? And then you cut him post-June next year, and you split that 40 over 2 years, so it's 20 a year, okay? Then you draft a quarterback because now you have the money to afford that quarterback because you've just gotten rid of a whole bunch of dead money. You bring in the quarterback. He's already coming into an established offensive line, an established wide receiver room, an established tight end room, established running back room, and you're off and running. That's what I think the Browns are doing.
So you're saying you're just going to have a losing season as best as you can, and then get a high pick in the first round?
I don't think they're tanking. Okay, I don't. And then there's a great article on the loser's curse when it comes to the NFL draft.
Yeah,
I can't think of the game. Cade Massey is his name. Who wrote it? I think that's the name. Cade Massey. Excellent article on the loser's curse and how having high top 10 draft picks is actually worse for your franchise than having like 10 to 17. That's the sweet spot, right? Because you're paying a lot for a player that's just as good as a player you picking at 17.
Yeah.
So I think what the Browns are going to, like, players and coaches want to win. So that's going to happen. Players and coaches are going to try to win. The front office is going to sit back and be like, okay, we're probably going to end up somewhere between 10 and 17, but what we're going to need is the ammunition to move up to top 5. Because there's however many quarterbacks you think are going to be in the draft, that's the number you got to get to. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Browns don't trade back once or twice in the first round, picking up next year's first round picks so that they can turn around and package those.
That's smart. That's smart.
And the Browns have already put out the rule change. I don't know if you saw the rule change where the Browns wanted to allow teams to trade 5 years of draft picks as opposed to just 3. And the joke is always like the Browns are about to give up 5 first-round picks for Arch Manning. That's probably the plan too. I'm not going to lie. It's probably the plan.
It could work. But it sounds to me like the Browns have a plan. The Steelers have a plan because we've done something that we haven't done in a long, long time, which is replace our entire coaching staff for new coaching staff, right? That's never been done before as a franchise. It's never been done before. So we're going into uncharted territories, but definitely a territory that really screams we don't want to be middle of the pack anymore. We're going to do something different. And, are we going to tank the first few games? Who knows? Chances are we will, right?
So by tank, you mean like try really hard to win, but ultimately lose.
Correct.
Okay, because tanking is when you're out there
different.
Trying to lose.
Not tank. Then we're going to we're going to lose because we made so many changes, right?
Struggle is a good word.
Struggle is the operative word there.
Yeah, I mean, my honest opinion, man. I know you don't want to hear this. Like, I think the Steelers are going to come in about 6 to 7 wins next year.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think there's going to be some residual like we're the Steelers, and that's going to carry you through 5 or 6 games. The late comeback, the typical Steelers kind of stuff. But I think you guys are going to struggle, and I don't say that to be negative. That's what happens in changes. When you change like that, and I know Steelers fans are going to hate it, but like, just think of it this way: it's like birthing pains. That struggle will get you in a position to get your guy to be quarterback, and you're already building a team. You're already getting your secondary.
Yeah.
You're replacing your running back room. You're already building, right? So the question becomes: is Mike McCarthy the guy, or is he the transition guy? Is he going to be there for a year, maybe two, until you get your guy, and then you bring in the guy that coaches the actual guy, and not some guy that's there as a placeholder for a year or two until you get your team ready to win? I think Monken's a placeholder. I honestly think you've got a placeholder in Pittsburgh, and it's a matter of doing it. Which brings me to my last topic, if you still have time.
Are we going to talk Bengals?
Yes, we need to talk Bengals. And here's why. We've talked Ravens, we've talked Steelers, we've talked Browns. I think the Bengals have had the best offseason so far. Okay.
Even with the loss of Trey Hendrickson.
Yes. And I'm going to tell you why.
Help me out with that.
The Bengals have looked at the situation, and they've said, look, the Steelers got turnover. That's a transition year. The Bengals are the Bengals. Or no, excuse me, the Browns are the Browns. And I hate to say it that way, but we're transitioning. That's kind of like our perpetual thing, right? Yep. And then the Ravens have turnover, and they're hiring. They're signing people that don't even fit their system. So clearly, they're changing their system. So they're going to struggle coming out of the gate. So this is the year for the Bengals. They have to go for it. They've got an offense in place. Their defense is garbage. They have to fix their defense if they're going to have any situations. They let Trey Hendrickson walk. Okay, the guy's been hurt. He's productive when he's not hurt. But, they let him go, right? So then they bring in an edge, Boya Mafe, 3 years, $60 million, edge rusher to replace Trey Hendrickson. They bring in Brian Cook from the Chiefs, 3 years, $40 million to play safety. Their back end was atrocious, particularly at safety. And they're bringing in Jonathan Allen from the Vikings, 2 years, $28 million, which is kind of a start depth piece up the middle. So they're reworking their defensive line. They're reworking their back end. They've extended Orlando Brown Jr. They brought Reisner back, Jalen Davis, their corner, some also ran players, but they are loading up the best they can with how cheap their owner is to make a run at the division. So good for them, instead of just sitting on their laurels like, oh, okay, another year, how much money can we make? They're at least going to try to win the division in a year where every other team in the division is going to have a down year. So kudos on them. They're having the best offseason for the AFC North right now, and they've got to be the favorites to win the AFC North right now.
Did they pick anybody up on the offensive line at all in free agency or no?
I don't know. They need to. There's also the draft coming up, and there's going to be some good offensive tackles in the draft. They need to draft an offensive tackle. Orlando Brown Jr. isn't going to be like...
Yeah, their left tackle is atrocious.
They need to pick up a corner. I mean, an offensive tackle in the draft. But that's doable for them, right? They didn't make the playoffs. They're probably in that. I don't know where their number is, but they're probably within the 10 to 17 range. They're going to get themselves a good player at a good price, and they're not going to be overpaying. I think the Browns are going to come back off 6. They don't want to overpay in terms of finances to an offensive tackle that you can get at 10. So why would you pick it at 6? Unless they're going to sit there and take Ty, whatever his name was, Simpson from Alabama, who also, by the way, every time he throws the ball, pats the ball just like Shedeur Sanders is. But nobody brings that up. I don't know if that's why that is. Nobody talks about Ty Simpson's a ball patter. Like before he throws the ball, he's going to pat it, then throw it exactly the way Shedeur Sanders does. And by the way, their numbers, Ty Simpson's numbers and Shedeur Sanders' numbers in college are almost identical. If anything, Shedeur Sanders has better numbers than Ty Simpson did. In college. So I don't get the Ty Simpson rumors to the Cincinnati or to Cleveland. They've already got that guy.
They
literally have that guy in the 5th round last year.
They do. Yeah. And fans love Shedeur, right, in Cleveland. So I wouldn't go off of him for anything. I really wouldn't.
I'd stay on him at least next year, give him a chance. Right? You got to find out after you're building this team, right? Did that 5th round pick last year really become your guy?
Yeah.
If he did, then we don't have to waste a 1st round pick or multiple 1st round picks next year getting our guy. But you can continue to build your team and then see if he's the guy. If he is, we're golden. If not, okay, well, we're back where we always are.
Exactly. Yeah, the most exciting thing the Steelers have coming up is the draft too, right? Because we lost a bunch of players that allowed us to pick up compensatory picks, we have the most picks in the draft next year for this year, and the draft is in Pittsburgh. So it's going to be great to see 12 times the stage light up in black and gold in Pittsburgh with a pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Do you think they'll make all those picks?
No.
No,
No.
I think if they're smart, they take some of these compensatory picks,
Yep.
like the 4s and the 5s, and try to package them up for a 3.
They're going to package them up. Yep. They're going to package them up.
Once you get to round 4, you're just drafting bodies. That
Yeah.
first 3 rounds is where you want your players. Like those are
Right.
the contributors, and then you get into round 4, they're just bodies. So you're better off just packaging them all up and moving up.
Yeah, and some teams will pick them. Like, I mean, hey, do you want 4 fourth-round picks, right? Give us a 2 or a 3.
So the Browns used to do that stuff. Used to make me so mad. Just sit there and pick in the second round. Don't keep going back, right? They used to do that all the time. But the last 2 or 3 years, they've changed that mentality. This example of this is Shedeur Sanders. Like they would never move up. Like the Browns had adopted this mentality where they'll move back but not up. Okay, this is the way the Steelers just sit and pick. That's all they do. And the Ravens will go back. They'll do that a lot. And the Bengals will just sit and pick. But the Browns have the last 2 years have been packaging lower picks to move up to get somebody. Like they may package 7s, 6s to get a 4. They may package a couple 4s to get a 3. Like they're more than happy to do that now. And I think they've learned their lesson. Like if you sit back here taking 10 6-round picks, you're getting nobody. You may think you've outsmarted everybody, but you haven't. There's only so much talent in the draft.
Right.
And you have to get picks in premium slots.
Right. Exactly.
Sorry, I'm talking our head off today.
No, it's good. It's good. Yeah. No, I mean, that's why I knew this episode on free agency was going to be like lengthy and detailed, right? Both, because a lot of stuff has happened in the past 3 days to go in and really rebuild some of these teams. And then when I saw, the whole Max Crosby thing come up, I just absolutely flipped my lid because it wasn't anything that I wouldn't have expected from the Ravens, but it really just kind of jibed me because it was dirty. It's
the most Baltimore thing you can think of.
Yeah.
Like that is who they are. That is their identity, right?
It is.
Well, I mean, I think as Masons, and we get back to this masonry thing, right? Like, Masons, we live on the square, and I think there's a good sense of like we're in a business, right? We're trying to compete, we're trying to succeed, we're trying to do well. Don't do that at the expense of your fellow man or your business partners, like the Ravens do. Like, all these NFL owners are business partners. This is why the owners are getting upset about the situation. That's why they all got upset about Deshaun Watson. That for different reasons. Some point we got to talk about what really is going on with Deshaun Watson. But you're not going to have a LeBron James in the NFL. There's not going to be one player. Well, there's not going to be one player that's going to walk up and tell an owner how they're going to act and how they're going to be and how they. And Watson tried that in Houston, and then God forbid the Browns give him a guaranteed contract for basically rewarding him for standing up against the owners. And the owners all collectively got mad and made sure that this guy's been buried, dead and gone out of the NFL. And that's what's happened. Like they've gotten rid of him. They've taught every other player, whoever thinks that they're going to be the LeBron James of the NFL, that it's not going to happen. Same thing happened, by the way, to Myles Garrett, who tried this same crap, right? I'm going to go out here and dictate what my team's going to do, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and I'm going to determine where I'm going to go. And the Browns just sat there and like, no, you're not. We own your rights. You're here whether you like it or not. You can either be here and get paid, or you can just be here and be miserable, but you're going to be here. And that is all the owners telling a player, you are not bigger than the Shield. The Shield is bigger than you. So I would say on the square, don't screw your fellow business partners.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, the Steelers our GM Omar Khan is the guy that does all this kind of negotiating. He's the one that got Pittman, right? He's the one that has really helped to carry us and build this amazing defense. Our defense got better in free agency, a lot better in free agency now. So we're not just relying on Joey Porter Jr. Now we've got 2 lockdown corners. Nobody's going to get past them. And if we lose games, it's going to be by a point.
Right.
It's going to be by a point because it's not going to be blowout football against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I mean, it can be. It can be if your offense is really bad, right? It'll look like the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay. If your offense is just garbage, if it's that's where you've got to find your quarterback situation. If the offense is garbage, it's going to be tight until about the third quarter, and then it's going to become a blowout. So, I mean, there might be blowouts, but it depends on how well your offense can play.
I'm going to call it right now. There's not going to be blowouts against the Steeler defense. There's not.
It won't be the defense's fault. That's what I'm saying. It won't be the defense's fault. It'll be the offense's fault. I mean, you can only be on the field so long before you start giving up plays. Yeah. It's just a fact of humanity.
Sure.
Okay. So if that defense is on the field for a
the whole
long time, there's going to be blowouts. It's going to happen, right? So you need an offense that can control the clock at the time of scrimmage. So you need a quarterback to make that happen.
True. We've got options.
So anyway.
All right. Well, I think that's all for this episode of Hash Marks and Working Tools. I am your host, Mike McDermott, and Joel Cade. Thank you again for making this an amazing episode.
Well, thanks for having me on.
All right. Take care. We'll see you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the Hash Marks and Working Tools podcast with Mike McDermott and Joel Cade. Remember to like and subscribe. This podcast is brought to you by Bash Food Digital Marketing Agency.